So this is in a Psyche, and I guess it's part of Aeon magazine. That's cool. Yeah, so we're doing How to Read Philosophy by Charles Huenemann. And yeah. Yeah, and what's up, Vipers? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for the suggestion last time, like don't hex the water. That was a fun video. It says Charlie Huenemann is a professor of philosophy at Utah State University. Ooh, how you play the game? A philosopher plays Minecraft. Interesting. And that's from like 8 years ago, so that's a while ago now. Okay. So, how to read philosophy, and I wonder, is this philosophy, and should we be reading it like philosophy? Ordered yourself a Teletubby suit. Is that what you're going to be for Halloween, or is it just like to wear it like around in general? Okay, so, need to know. And as always, please ask questions. I'm just live reading this, so I don't know. It's a reaction channel, and your reactions are cool. Which Teletubby is it? Was it Winky? Or whatever. Oh gosh, I don't know. Blinky, Winky. Oh, nice. Oh, this is not a Teletubby suit. This is like a cold weather suit or something. Pasture sleeping bag suit. So this is basically a sleeping bag, like a tailored sleeping bag. That is kind of fun though. Yeah, so this is a tailored sleeping bag, so you can sleep in the outdoors in the UK at any time of the year. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's like, yeah, because sleeping bags are really not that convenient things. So this is cool. So yeah, you could go to sleep in this. I see. Yeah, so everyone's going to be cold. Oh, that's terrible. But like, you know, modern innovation. This is what capitalism gets us. Over-reliance on fossil fuels and Teletubby suits. Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone's going to be firing up their whatever nuclear plants they have left. Maybe you're going to get coal from, like, West Virginia. I'm sure that's what Joe Manchin here in the United States was dealing with. But yeah. Okay, interesting. I did get my friend my friend's kid, actually, an hoodie. Oversized wearable blankets and accessories. So I did get my friend's kid one of these things. They're kind of cool, and they're like super like comfy. So you can see like it's a giant hoodie that like it's got like super plush in it. Let's see, yeah. So you can like it's like super plush on the inside. So yeah, and then like they got like fun little things. So maybe this will be the new fashion statement. You'll just be ahead of the curve with wearing that around nowadays. So yeah, this is kind of neat. Yeah, what color did you get? You should get yourself a what's it called? A little headband that has the Teletubby thing on it, so you can actually be a Teletubby. Okay, so you got the green. Yeah, I expect everyone would want the black because you probably look less Teletubby-ish that way. But this one you can get the little like head dress thing that the Teletubbies have, and then you can go around calling yourself Winky or whatever. That's kind of awesome. You prefer the blue, but you don't want people noticing me through the windows? You think the blue's more conspicuous, or does like blue come through windows easier? I don't know, but that's funny. Fair. Okay. Any other comments on like fun things you guys have been up to? Because that's awesome. I want to get myself an hoodie. They look like super fantastic. And there is they're from Australia or New Zealand, I forget, but the other side of the world. The company, of course, has like a U.S. outpost, but like it's a little expensive. And the U.S. of course has a knockoff brand. I forget what it's called, but it's something similar to hoodie. Like I forget, but again, like a knockoff of like large shirt or something. And but like they're expensive, but they're great. And one of the streamers I follow had a discount code, so it was a great, good present. So maybe I'll get myself one, and I'll think of you, Vipers, when I wear it. Okay, so how to read philosophy, and how do I read philosophy? You guys know how I read philosophy. I just sit here and I think, like, this is bullshit. Alright, it might seem daunting to read philosophy. It is. Giants of thinking, with names like Hegel, Plato, Marx, Nietzsche, and Kierkegaard, loom over us with imperious glares, asking if we are sure we are worthy. Alright, so you might already notice that I don't give a fuck about any of these people. That is kind of how my approach is. I do not feel them looming over me with imperious glares. This is laughable. Like, you should not be taking people so seriously if, like, unless you actually find something of value there. Just because other people say there's something of value there does not mean there's anything of value there. One theme of philosophy of roulette is basically no one gets out alive. There's always going to be problems in these things. Now, some of these people have great ideas and stuff, but you can't be giving them too much credit. You have to be looking at them very critically. So if, like, you think you are worthy? You are worthy. The idea that you're gatekeeping, do not be gatekeeping. Are you sure you're worthy? It doesn't fucking matter. Don't listen to no gatekeeping by anyone else. Fascism comes in many flavors, you suppose. That's exactly right. Don't be gatekeeping philosophy, being like, are you worthy? No. No. Philosophy is not meant to be in the ivory tower, even though it is. It's not only meant to be in the ivory tower. Okay. So, continuing. We might worry that we won't understand anything that they're telling us, even if we do think we understand. We still might worry that we might get it wrong somehow. You know, this is fair. As far as an opening paragraph, this author is just trying to, like, you know, ease people in some sense. That's it. It's like, don't be so worried about it. And even if you are worried about it, it's okay. So, but, like, yeah, so what? If you don't understand anything, look, everyone starts off somewhere. You're not going to understand everything. That's okay. It doesn't matter. That's where everyone starts off anyway. So, if you want to, like, you know, make progress like in philosophy, then you do have to understand what they were saying. But if you just want to read it and get something out of it, you don't have to, like, get everything right. It's like, you definitely don't have to get everything right in philosophy to get something out of it. You can get philosophy wrong and still do okay. Yeah, that's right, semiotics. No one, it's like, it takes too much effort. Vipers, how to read philosophy. Close the book, do something productive with your life instead. Well, I mean, yes and no, Vipers. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but, like, if you want to learn someone else's philosophy, then you do have to see what they said. If you want to learn any philosophy, then yeah, you can just go out and do stuff. That'll be good enough. But if you want to, like, if you want to find out what someone, like, a kind of philosophy is, then you have to see what someone said. But, like, if you want to do any philosophy, it's like the old thing. It's like, you're not lost. If you don't have anywhere to go, you're not really lost. You're just going. Yeah. Well, philosophy is a conversation, but like I said, if you don't have a conversating partner, you're conversing with nature. Well, you can't do it by yourself, but you're conversing with nature. You can go out and do stuff, and you're going to have a, you know, engagement with nature, and then you're having, like, a philosophy of nature or something, or how the world is. And you can do that. You don't need to, but if you don't have a goal, it doesn't matter what you do. If you do have a goal, then you're trying to read something, then it does matter. Can't I just assume what they said and hate them through my delusions like everyone else? Of course, but then you have to deal with your own psychology more. And if you're trying to avoid your own psychology, then you have to do something else. But if you're perfectly okay with your own delusions and your own psychology, then, hey, more power to you. That's one of the things. You don't get away from it just by being wrapped up in your head. Then you just have to deal with your own thoughts more, which isn't necessarily a good thing. It may not be a bad thing, but it's not necessarily good. Yes, but I've never completely explained my reasons for doing this either, Cinesemiotics. I mean, 3 days after I was laid off from work, which was 3 days after the pandemic started, I started streaming. I was like, I always kind of thought I might do some public philosophy, but I've got other public philosophy projects. Oh, Vipers, yeah. Yeah, that too. Okay, so if we're going to read philosophy, we need to begin by knocking those giants down to size. I agree. Every one of them tripped and burped and doodled. Some of them were real jerks. Here's Arthur Schopenhauer and his fellow German philosopher Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, for instance. A flat-headed, insipid, nauseating, illiterate charlatan who reached the pinnacle of audacity in scribbling together and dishing up the craziest, mystifying nonsense. I'm not sure whether this paints Schopenhauer or Hegel as the bigger jerk. What does the fact that you're playing solitaire on another monitor tell you? That you're a masochist. You don't win at solitaire. That's not fair. I like solitaire just plenty. The point is that each giant of philosophy was a human being trying to figure out life by doing just what you do: reading, thinking, observing, writing. Don't let their big words intimidate you. We can insist that they make sense to us, or at least intrigue us, or are left behind in the discount book bin. They must prove their worth to us. You could have different things streaming instead of this, but you chose us. That's fair. I could be doing something else, and you know, this is what, number 339, so yeah, I have kind of chosen this fate. But yeah, I may not be here forever. We'll find out. You don't have the dexterity to jerk off and play solitaire at the same time. Well, you know, with practice, there are great things can be achieved, Vipers. But what might that worth be? That is, why read philosophy in the first place? The chief goal is simply the improvement of your own soul. No one should read philosophy just to sound smart or intimidate others or have impressive books on the shelf. One should read philosophy because one wants a better mind, better spirit, and a better life. Or at least one wants a better understanding of why none of these things are possible or why none of them matter. Philosophy leaves no possibility unexplored. The hope is that these so-called giants are offering us some guidance or companionship in this regard. This is fair. Like, you don't have to have any good reason for reading philosophy. Whatever your reason is, it has to be good enough to you. People have asked me before, because they know, oh, you're interested in philosophy, Noger. Well, what should I read? I said, well, what are you interested in? If you're not specifically interested in anything in philosophy, I say then don't do philosophy. If you were interested in a specific thing that philosophy does, then go read philosophers on that topic. Otherwise, don't bother. Go, like, if you're interested in, like, you know, AI, go read the AI stuff. If you're interested in philosophy of mind, then there's overlap, and it might be worth it to do some philosophy of mind for you. But it's like, and I don't care what your reasons are. I don't. Like, see, this person here is already trying to make philosophy sound good. I don't care if your motives aren't good, but, like, don't bother doing philosophy unless you have a very damn good reason, because it's going to be hard. I can guarantee you philosophy is hard, and reading philosophy is going to be hard. So you just need a reason. It doesn't matter what it is, but it has to be a damn good reason to put yourself through this. So there is no actual good reason and why you should read these other than you are motivated. If you are not so motivated, then it's really not worth it, because philosophy is just difficult and there's no guarantee of success at the end, unlike other things where you might gain a skill. Okay, the most stirring reason for reading philosophy was given by Bertrand Russell at the end of his short book, The Problems of Philosophy. Define hard, like hard to comprehend or hard to get through someone's bullshit. Both, depending what you're doing. Sometimes people like Hegel, you have to read a shit ton of their stuff before you figure it out. It is hard to comprehend, and it's, you know, and also, like, getting through his bullshit to find the good things on it are, you know, difficult. And so, like, philosophy is going to be difficult because you have to sift through a lot of bullshit to find good ideas, and it's difficult to comprehend sometimes because philosophy is not always written so well. It's not been the priority to write philosophy well. So it's, like, hard on both fronts there, and maybe even others that, you know, you could come up with stuff. So, okay, so Bertrand Russell says, Birdie, which his friends used to call him, I think, said, philosophy is to be studied not for the sake of any definite answers to its questions, since no definite answer can, as a rule, be known to be true, but rather for the sake of the questions themselves, because these questions enlarge our conception of what is possible, enrich our intellectual imagination, and diminish the dogmatic assurance which closes the mind against speculation. But above all, because through the greatness of the universe which philosophy contemplates, the mind is also rendered great, and becomes capable of that union with the universe which constitutes its highest good. I mean, this makes philosophy sound great. It's like you're going to, like, you know, connect with something bigger than you. That's possible. I don't know. But you could also study religion for that matter. And you could do other stuff. But, like, philosophy is great. You might be able to do something like that. But again, I don't care. Like, if that's what you're interested in, great. But you don't have to be so interested. Reading philosophy gives us richer perspective, casts us into deep wonder, and helps us grapple with the biggest questions a human can ask. It is a heady call to action, and one that can only be met by diving into the works themselves. So how does one read philosophy? Reddit does that. Yeah. See, this is why this is trying to build up philosophy to justify its worth. I don't think this person needed to do that. Anyone reading this article probably does that. Although in some sense they did need some sort of introduction to get like people motivated to get through this. You want to rah up what you're about to say. And what they're about to say is philosophy is hard because it just is. And so you need to rah it up a little bit. But like, yeah, again, I don't care what your reasons for reading philosophy are. In fact, they may be personal, like what you want to find out in the world, what you think like the meaning of life is or whatever, but like you need some good reason. I don't care. And the idea that philosophy is great might appeal to you. I don't particularly, you don't need to think that though. You have to think that that there's something of worth there for whatever you're considering. Yeah. And yeah, social media can expand all these things. Spite is a very great motivator, Vipers. Yeah, no, spite is a very great motivator, and like I was saying, that's, great motivator is a good reason to think about philosophy. I mean, I've said this before, I exist on bullshit medical technology at this point. Like, my reasons for doing things are not what people really expect, and like, woe be to people thinking they're gonna tell me about the world and shit. Like, people have no fucking clue. And so, like, people tell me, like, oh, you should be doing this with your life. I'm just laugh at them. Like, you have no fucking clue who you're dealing with. Okay. Think it through. Reconsider your expectations of philosophy. Yeah, see, they just built us up. So this is interesting. What they did was they built up philosophy up here, and then they're going to say, hey, that's not actually what you thought it was. But spite's a great reason. To this day, there are bookstores with sections titled Philosophy. They include titles like The 7 Secrets to a Happier Life, or Get Your Shit Together, or Living with Your Heart Wide Open. These are self-help books, and some of them may actually prove helpful in giving you a better perspective to overcome or live with the obstacles in your path. Maybe you should make your bed every morning, or take a cooking class, or see each person as another authentic self. That's wonderful. Everyone needs a helpful nudge from time to time, and probably every self-help book has helped someone somewhere. A guy in my PhD program got through it on spite. You see, Vipers, that could be you. You could get a PhD on spite. I mean, getting 3 letters after your name is basically like, you just have to get it done. No one wants to, if, like, being a PhD was fun, like, people would do it for longer. Yeah. He's probably the most successful grad from his cohort, so scoreboard. Yeah, exactly. Like, chalk one up to spite. That's great. But, like, yeah, you have to just get through school. I don't care how. Like, granted, there's better and worse ways, but a lot of times it doesn't really matter, as long as it gets done. It's like the PhD just needs to get written and approved. No one's going to read it afterwards, or mostly no one's going to read it afterwards. Yeah, just get that thing written. Dissertation. Yeah. Okay, but as helpful as self-help books are, they are not philosophy. Well, it depends on which philosophy you're talking about. Wittgenstein thought of philosophy as recuperative and self-helpy. Not probably in the exact same way these are, but Wittgenstein specifically said that philosophy in some sense is ameliorative, whatever that word would be. It is helpful in that way. Philosophy typically raises less personal questions, such as whether time is real, or whether humans can exempt themselves from laws of nature, or if a person is just what their brain does, or whether we have moral obligations to strangers. And philosophy does not merely want to know the answers, but also why they are the best answers and why the other answers are wrong. Yes, wrong. Philosophy is not afraid to say it. Okay, first useful thing that I think they said is that there are actually answers in philosophy. You used Ludwig Wittgenstein's bewitchment line in class today. Yeah, it was the bewitchment of language. Philosophy is the bewitchment of language. Yeah, that sort of thing. But that was the thing. Wittgenstein thought that philosophical problems were really confusions that you had to sort of walk back. You had to like step back from to see that you had got yourself into like getting confused by something. And so in that sense, it was helping you by drawing you like being the fly bottle is the quote, but it's the being able to like retrace your steps to get yourself back away from where you had gotten yourself all twisted up. Yeah. Okay. At a very general level, self-help books help you with the problems you shouldn't have. And see, that's exactly what Wittgenstein was saying. Philosophy helps you with the problems you should have. There is some overlap, of course. Some philosophy books can actually help you overcome problems you shouldn't consider as problems, and some self-help books draw attention to things in life you should regard as problems. And just so you know, there are actually nowadays philosophical counselors that will counsel you as like a sort of a therapist, but will do it with a philosophical bent. Like you can actually go to a philosophical therapist nowadays. I don't know how many there are around, but I knew that was a thing at a certain point in the last 20 years. Okay, but more generally, philosophical problems are the ones that unavoidably come along with being conscious. If you can think, you have problems. This is why there is philosophy. That's fair enough. Heidegger said of Aristotle that the only biographical facts he needed to know were that he was a human being who was born, who worked, and who died. All the other features of a life are accidental. One shouldn't expect from a book of philosophy any counsel or advice that wouldn't apply equally well to any human being who has lived. And you want to know what's fun about Heidegger and Aristotle? They were both terrible people. They were horrible. And so the fact that they ignore any of the facts of life tells you something about them because they were bad fucking people. And so that's very interesting that Heidegger said that of Aristotle, because it's interesting because Heidegger was a Nazi and Aristotle was a fascist. This is interesting that, like, you're quoting Heidegger on Aristotle, but, like, that's a terrible fucking group of people to be talking about that you don't need to talk about biographical facts. Like, they were both, like, basically, Aristotle went around getting paid by whoever would pay him. He did not care who he worked for. He worked for dictators. So did Heidegger, for that matter. Like, and so these are not the people you should be taking life advice from, in my opinion. I'm not kidding. Heidegger's metaphysics is goddamn amazing, and Aristotle is a giant of philosophy. You have to, like, if you want to be serious about, like, philosophy, you probably should read some Aristotle. Note, Wittgenstein never read any Aristotle. He probably should have. But, like, I wouldn't take their words on, like, what it is exactly to be a good person. But how does one get started? What books are good to begin with? Philosophy isn't like mathematics, where people generally agree that you need to start at one place and take a sequence of steps that steadily build upon one another. It's more like a hallway with many conversations underway. A hallway? Like doors or like hall? Yeah, that's a weird way to go. A hallway with many conversations underway. A beginner might find a general introduction useful just to get a map of the hallway, so to speak. Some specific recommendations can be found in the links and books section below, but perhaps the most important point to bear in mind is that there's no single or best way to begin. Start anywhere and follow your interest wherever it goes. Okay, so I completely agree with this. Viper said, I learned everything I need to know about Aristotle from that Twitter thread on the recreation of his face. I don't know what that Twitter thread is, but it sounds fun. Yeah. But, like, this is the thing. This is right. There are a million conversations that you could be having about any aspect of philosophy. You should just go find one that you think is interesting. Start wherever and follow where your interest goes, because like I said, there's a lot of it, and you're gonna just go follow whatever you want. He looks like someone who would go around telling people his opinion, and yes, he did. I mean, Plato went and tried to do the philosopher king thing. Like, he went and tried to do that, and then he had to get bailed out by a rich friend of his when he got thrown in jail. Aristotle, he was not well liked. Yeah, that's funny, Valpo. Okay, philosophy requires active adversarial reading. Dogs must think that we slip into comas when we are reading books because we hardly move at all. Really? Dogs stare out into the space too. That's weird. Oh, it's on our Discord. Let's get the link. Okay. Yeah. That's really funny. Okay, that's kind of what Aristotle might have looked like. I mean, Yeah, why not? He looks like he's going around telling people his opinion. He definitely did that. You gotta think, like I said, also, I don't know when the busts of Aristotle were made, if they were actually what he looked like, if we have anything from ancient Greece that actually saw what he looked like. But again, some of the stuff that was made of Aristotle was made much later because he was so famous. Some of the stuff was made contemporaneously because, like I said, he worked for rich people, and rich people could afford to get sculptures made of like their friends, which there were some made of Aristotle during the time. But I mean, I wonder where. Actually, let's go look. I forget which one. Well, see, what I'm interested in is the original photo of Aristotle that this was made off of. Yeah, this thing. Like, I wonder what this one is. I don't remember where this comes from, but yeah. Okay, could look that up later. Okay. The idea that dogs think anything is weird, but again, this author has to, get people into the right mode of stuff. Only our eyes move as we scan left to right and back again, occasionally flicking a page or scrolling ever downward, frozen in place while words pour into us and form ourselves into something like ideas. Indeed, we typically gauge good writing as the kind that requires the least degree of movement on our part. If what we read causes us to frown or go back a page or scrunch up our eyebrows and gaze distractedly at the ceiling, then that stuff is bad writing. I wonder if people who had sculptures made of them were like, do I really look like that? I mean, people could look into water way back in the day and get like a reflection. That's not so, people knew what they kind of look like. Not everybody, of course, but, I'm sure the Greeks had like, I don't know if they had polished up any metal, but you could have just looked at yourself in like, water reflection. By such a measure, philosophy is often very bad writing indeed because it demands exactly this kind of activity. It's hard to turn the words in a philosophy book into ideas. Oh, so that's true. I mean, you get a better view of yourself from the side. A different view. That's a fair question then. What is it to look like around the side of your head? And that is something different. Like if you see yourself on a video, you might not get the exact same view you get from the head on. You might get like a 3/4 view or the side view, and then it's different. Yeah. Okay. You have to keep track of unusual terms, careful distinctions, and pivotal examples and general principles. If you are doing it right and you are using a pen, pencil, stylus, or quill to mark important or puzzling passages, to underline important terms, and to carve question, or question, exclamation point, that is interrobang, next to the confounding things philosophers are wont to say. Far from a coma, your dog should think you're in a fight with your book. Yeah, that makes sense, Vipers, because you get one view of yourself very regularly, and then as soon as that changes, that's a little disconcerting, and it's one of the reasons why you hear, I was like on stream, watching a stream last night, people were saying like, when you're doing just chatting streams and you see your face on it, it's like it can make you uncomfortable to be like, because I can see like a little picture of myself to my right. So it's like when I turn my head, I'm looking at the side of my face, which is not the normal view of me, which is a little disconcerting, So it is something I don't normally get to see because, mirrors always have the same view. So, and they were saying last night that like a lot of times it is a struggle for even this is a partnered streamer for them to get like looking the way they want to look on stream because it's so disorienting to have like slightly different views of themselves that they're staring right into during the just chatting streams. Yeah, so good point. Okay. Philosophy books should be approached multiple times. You might first read through the work relatively quickly so that you have a cloudy idea of what is being said. Then you should read it again with attention to detail. This is why you should mark up the book or take notes so that you can understand more clearly what is being said and why. For some books you may either feel done or lose interest at this point. For others you will want to repeat this process. Read quickly again, read slowly again, repeat. And this is fair. Like on Philosophy Roulette, I mean, I just read it first one time through and whatever, and I forget about it. I have gone back and written a paper on one of the things here, and then I of course read it again. When I do reading for, I've reviewed a few papers, I've reviewed papers for friends. I read it once pretty quickly to get a general idea of what's going on, and then I go through it slowly at least 2 more times, because you're gonna miss things. Philosophy is complicated, it is hard, and getting the ideas the first time correctly is, you're not gonna get it all right the first time. It's not gonna happen. Okay. It has been said that there are ultimately 2 replies to any philosophical claim. Oh yeah, and so what? And that's right, the author says. These are the 2 questions you should have at the ready whenever you are reading a philosophical text. You should be thinking of counterexamples to the general claims that are made, or other possible explanations, or asking what the philosopher is handling similar, or whether the philosopher is handling similar cases consistently. Okay, this is just wrong here. This is already jumping ahead. You should be like, the questions I'm mostly asking when I'm reading stuff is, what the fuck are they talking about in real life? Not in terms of ideas, but in terms of real life. You don't want to be thinking about the general claims that are made. That's very hard to get, like, from the idea on page to some grand thing in, like, about the whole world. Unless they say specifically, my general claims are XYZ, then you can talk about that. Or other possible explanations of, like, well, then you already have to know the phenomenon that they're talking about. Or asking whether the philosopher is handling similar cases consistently. No, you have to understand one case first. You have to understand what exactly is the philosopher talking about in the one case. Then you can go to other cases. You have to come up with an example that makes sense about what the philosopher is talking about. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to actually understand what you think they are talking about. This is really just reading comprehension, other than the pretension this could equally be entitled How to Read Someone Else's Code. Well, to be fair, code is more like philosophy than other writing is. So yes, but like decoding someone else's code without like proper comments is, yeah, but like that means you have to go through their thought process and what is the actual thing that they're trying to get out of the code, because the code, of course, is not the end product. The code is the way to get to the end product. Garbage in, garbage out, but like it's like you get information in and then you manipulate it and then you get a different product on the other side. And so you have to understand what is the end product and how you're getting there and what are the manipulations they're doing in some sense. So you have to have the idea of what they're talking about. So although this author has the right sort of questions, oh yeah, the oh yeah is the more important one. Oh yeah, what? What are you talking about? Oh yeah, like, is that really a thing to talk about? And then once you understand what they are talking about, then you can move to the so what. But like, you have to actually understand what they are talking about. And so you should not be thinking of counterexamples. You should be thinking, what exactly do they mean? And then when they get to their conclusion, does the conclusion actually, is it justified? Like, does it follow? Does it actually make sense given what they said ahead of time? And at that point, you can then think of counterexamples to their conclusion and general claims that they're making. Do the general claims stack up compared to, what they had said? But this is wrong in the sense, right here. The first thing you should be talking about is what exactly they're talking about. Do you think you can convert the major ideas of philosophy to a language? I don't know what that means. Like, they're in English a lot of times, or German. They're in a language. Do you mean like a computer language? The answer would be no. But like, you have to give me some more data on that one, Vipers. Okay. You should also be asking whether those claims have any important consequences and whether your life should change at all if you were to agree. Insist that the philosopher make a compelling case for your attention. Yeah, this is the thing. The philosopher has to give you a reason to keep paying attention. Otherwise, just toss it. If they don't have the conclusion, like good conclusions, do not bother with the philosopher. But like, that's not what they said earlier in this paragraph. That did not follow from here. Okay, this means taking an adversarial approach to philosophical texts. You want to be tough-minded, skeptical judge before whom some hapless attorney is making an argument in a controversial case. But it is also true that this tough-minded approach must be blended with some degree of interpretive charity. Okay, so here we go. Now we're finally getting somewhere. In all likelihood, the philosopher you are reading is not an idiot. So if you're reading the text, if your reading of the text implies that the philosopher is making idiotic claims, then the problem could be with your reading. Interpret the arguments and the claims in the most favorable light. If the problem remains nonetheless, then you can get judgy. So yeah, this is the thing. You have to find out what they're saying first. Then you can get adversarial about it. Viber says, it's hard to describe, but basically a computer-style logical language with inputs and outputs. So we don't have to read 30 pages of someone's shower thoughts. For philosophy in general, no. There's certain areas of philosophy, then you could say yes. Like, if you do philosophical logic, which I do some of, some areas of that, then yes. Once you understand the formal logic that they are talking about, which some of them are pretty standard, so everyone knows that, then what they say is basically, here's the modification we're going to make. This is like the little thing we're going to do. And then you can like add that to the formal language and see what shakes out. But that's a very narrow area of philosophy. We're talking about philosophical logic and the areas that discussing that. But that's basically already very computer style already, because all the formal language that I would be talking about can be translated into computer code. And so basically, yes, there is philosophical areas that you could do that with, but it's already the computer style aligned areas. And then basically all you have to do is what is their idea? Why are they adding it to the logic, and why is it a good idea? And then those papers are generally shorter. You can read those. But yeah. It's but you just have to go get into the philosophical logic and why are people doing stuff like that. But for most of philosophy, that's not going to happen. But like I said, there is areas where it could. Okay. Notice how different this is from many other types of reading. It would be perverse to read a novel while scribbling "oh yeah" and "so what" in the margins. Many non-fiction books aim to inform you about history or science or politics or whatever, and they're not trying to convince you of something so much as to give you the basic idea of what's true. Of course, there may be times when you will want to ask, "oh yeah," in response to dubious claims in these books, but philosophy books must be read with these questions in mind, because you simply won't understand them unless you take this advice, this active adversarial attitude. You can't get strong by watching others at the gym. You have to do some lifting yourself. I mean, that's fair. You have to be willing to engage with the ideas, but you have to understand what they're saying, and then you have to understand why they're saying it, and understand that you might disagree with that. Okay, besides, active reading will help you to retain more of what you read. Unworked books are soon forgotten. Okay, I mean, sure. But this is the principle of charity. You have to understand the best thing that the person writing is saying. And that's what's the best thing they're saying here is that you have to be actively engaged with what they're doing. Either you're going to be adversarial or you're going to be on their side. You're going to tag team. You're when they say this, I want them to win, and so I'm going to support their argument with these other things. You don't have to be adversarial. You have to sort of be in either you could say cooperation or competition with them, but you have to be this co-opted sort of a co-optive engagement. You have to either be actively supporting or actively pushing back. But there's one, how else would you reformulate their arguments so that you understand them? You have to be able to, like I said before, you have to understand what they're saying. So you have to be able to reformulate them in your own voice, your own understanding of what's going on. Otherwise, you're just you're not doing this. They're calling it an adversarial approach. But what I'm saying is basically you have to make their thought your own in the way you do it. So that way you can re-describe it to yourself in a way that makes sense to you. Because, other people's words, they might make sense, but they're not going to make as much sense unless you can explain it to yourself in a certain way and come up with your own examples or counter-examples. Okay. Philosophy is a dialogue. Some philosophical books really are dialogues of characters conversing with one another. They read like plays, though if your local high school puts on a production of Plato's Theaetetus, a lengthy dialogue about knowledge and judgment, I recommend staying home. Other books are straightforward treatises covering some topics in exhaustive monologue. But all philosophical works, even monologues, are dialectical. They are conversations between someone making a claim and someone raising objections to that claim, or pressing questions to deeper levels. Indeed, philosophical books can become very complicated conversations. Not only are there multiple voices present in the author's text, but now you have joined the conversation as well, conversing with those voices and your own voice. You and a book are now having a party. And that's kind of what philosophy roulette is. I've got the conversation, I've got the text in front of me, there. I've got my chat and I've got your chatter below. So it's like all of us can discuss. This is part of how philosophy gets done, is that people ask questions, I describe stuff, you describe stuff, and it's not all the same. Many philosophical books record the results of philosophers talking to themselves. The French philosopher René Descartes, in his Meditations, for example, argues with himself ceaselessly, paragraph after paragraph. I will attempt to achieve, little by little, and more intimate knowledge of myself. Do I not therefore also know what is required for my being certain about anything? Yet I previously accepted as wholly certain and evident many things which I afterwards realized were doubtful, but what about when I was considering something very simple? What's it called? I forget who. It may have been Kierkegaard, actually, and Valpo, you might be able to know this, but someone was saying, like, basically you're always talking to yourself when you're doing philosophy. You've got, like, a conversation going on, some sort of dialectic where you ask one question, then you answer your own questions. Most philosophy, they said, philosophers do something like this. Descartes is giving himself the oh yeah treatment. In a way, it is a rhetorical play, since he is trying to make it seem as if anyone who is clear-minded and honest with themselves will drift inexorably into the charmed circle of Cartesian metaphysics. But never mind that. It is a brilliant work of dialectical reflection. The reader is supposed to be carried along with this dialogue, thinking of the same objections that Descartes gives expression to and then tries to answer. But a clever reader such as yourself will probably ask some questions Descartes doesn't raise, or you will come up with an alternative answers he didn't think of. So you have a part in the dialogue too. Take notes to keep track of it all. I can fucking guarantee you most of you are not smarter than Descartes, not coming up with ideas that he didn't have, but he did not add it all to his book. It's just how it is. We're not that smart. Descartes was very, very brilliant. But you were going to come up with different things because, you know, times are different from now and back then. And so it still matters. But I mean, the idea that he didn't come up with these ideas is not Descartes' fault. Limited page space to mention things. I've said this before. These people are very, very smart. If you are thinking something, it's probably because they want you to be thinking it. That's how it is. If you are thinking something, that's because they want that to be happening. They know what they're doing, for the most part. And so it's like, if you're coming up with an objection, you're going to find out that, like, they're answering the objection like 2 paragraphs down because they wanted you to think this, because they set you up that way. So that way you feel like, oh, they thought of this. So it's like, or they came up with the answer. If you do come up with something that they hadn't thought of, that's interesting. But, like, then you can go write your own philosophy paper. You think a tub of glue is smarter than Descartes. Is that the kind of glue made from horse shoes? Hooves? I mean, depends on the glue, maybe. But yeah, I know. Don't put the Descartes before the horse. Ah, yes. There was a great one. I forget what it was, but, like, it was something about prostitutes, and then they don't put Descartes before the whores. And I should look that one up because it was hilarious. But it took more setup. This dialogue is essential to philosophy. Maybe it is essential to all thinking. We raise ideas, ask questions, or pose problems, revise or extend those ideas, face new challenges, propose new ideas, and keep batting questions and answers back and forth in the tennis court of the mind until we can't think of anything new to say. But philosophy lives in this energetic back and forth, picking up on missed possibilities or raising new questions or going back to insert some distinctions before reaching disastrous conclusions. That's the philosophical method. Keep the conversation going, changing, evolving. This is fair. If you can keep things going, then you might get somewhere eventually. You might be spinning your wheels, but, like, the idea that, like, there's still more things to talk about, then maybe if you're interested enough to keep going, then you might be going somewhere that you find interesting eventually. Philosophy, as I would define it, is grappling with ideas at the borders of intelligibility. That's fair. This is, again, Wittgensteinian in flavor. You're running up against the borders, the walls of language, the things that can be said. As soon as the questions become fully intelligible and tractable, then a new discipline emerges, like physics or biology or psychology. But while we are still wrestling back and forth over what seems to be true and what seems to be impossible in matters we cannot see in high resolution, we are doing philosophy. There really is no way to proceed except in a dialectical back and forth manner. I mean, that's fair, and this is one of the things people say is the benefit of philosophy, is that when enough philosophy gets done, then we like can just get rid of it from philosophy. You don't have to worry about those problems anymore. You leave the physics to the physicists, and you can leave the psych to the psychologists, and that's sort of the thing. It's that it can stand on its own once enough of the ideas have been shaken out, enough of the bad ideas have been shaken out of it, and there's still stuff left. Okay. In reading philosophy, you want to be sure to take up the dialogue. To that end, you should keep a journal to explain to yourself what you think is being said in the book. See, this should have been up to the top. This is like before that other stuff that the author said. This is more primary than what the coming up with counterexamples. You need to know what the fuck is going on before you come up with like counterexamples. How are you going to come up with a counterexample to something that you don't even understand what's going on yet? This is the critical thing. And so this, I disagree with this author. This is more primary than what they were saying above. Okay, what you think about and what you'd like to ask the author and what you would like to tell them, even if it's impolite. No, if it's impolite, that's more important, actually. Like, what is getting you riled up? As you make your thoughts explicit on the page and use explicit language, I beg of you, because it's more interesting that way, you will learn more about what you yourself think. Sometimes we don't know what we think until we hear or read ourselves saying it. This is another good point the author makes. Sometimes you don't quite realize the extent of your own thoughts. You know, you have an idea what you're thinking about. Sometimes after you write it down, you see, oh, okay, this is like, it stands alone differently once it's written. And this is a point on ontology, actually. Once you start getting it out of your head, it's not an idea anymore, and you look at it on the page, in some sense, it gains a different status. Like, it's like code, as Vipers might say. Once it's like out of your head, it's written and it's actually working. It does differently and it acts differently than you realize. Maybe like you didn't have everything figured out, but you have to get it out, and then once you see it going, then it is slightly different. And so the ontologies of things are different. And ontology is like the being of the thing. And so once it's a written thing, sometimes you're embarrassed. You're like, wow, that's cringy. But like you did not realize it until you actually wrote your little story down. You'd be like, wow, that's a cringy story. That's cringy philosophy. But like it takes writing it out sometimes to see that. It needs a little time and separation. And then when you come back to it, because it's in your head, it's kind of ephemeral. But like this is important. Once you get it down and you start to realize, hey, that may not have been the smartest thing to write down, and I should burn this before anyone else reads it. Okay, taking notes in a philosophical dialogic way is a way of learning new things about your own mind and your own experience. When you return to that blasted book for a third or fourth time, you will be armed with new questions and perspectives to bring to the conversation. It will be a new reading of it. Yeah, Hegel should have done a lot of that, but that's okay. It has been said that you are never done reading a great book because each time you read it, you become a different person. That may be an exaggeration, but there's something to it. It is also sometimes said that as you read a great book, it reads you. That is to say, you may begin to understand your own life anew through the concepts the book has suggested to you. This is the inevitable result of any genuine dialogue. That's when philosophy is at its best. Burn everything he wrote down, you mean? I mean, you gotta give Hegel a little credit. It's done a lot of stuff in the world. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't want to like discount all of Hegel. I do know some Hegelians, and they seem like they're nice enough folk. Yeah, and like that's a thing. There might be some people. It's like the author was saying earlier. Not all self-help books are for everyone. Some self-help books are for some people. And the question is, does like Hegel turn out bad people? Does Hegel make bad people? I don't know if Hegel makes bad people. Oh, that's fine if you enjoy shading on Hegel. But like the thing is, like if that makes you happy, then I say, oh, go for it. But like I know people that like work on Hegel, and you know, this is like their jam. They like what Hegel has to say, and that's not for everybody. So. Yeah, so again, this is back to the self-helpy stuff. You're gonna understand yourself anew. And so again, the self-helpy concepts, this person might be a Wittgensteinian, I don't know, but like they're really, this sort of thing is what they're doing here. Okay. Philosophy is about you. Philosophy is not specifically about your problems at work, as in the self-help genre, or how to manage the contacts in your phone, or whether to drop all social media. Though all those things might be illuminated by philosophy, it is about your life as a human being. What do we got, Vipers? Awful day today. 2 volumes of the collected works of Hegel in my car, and someone broke in and left 2 more. Yeah. I mean, I saw a Reddit post today, I think, where someone was asking if how long it would take to go through one of Hegel's books. Like, they were just asking, like, could I read this in the next year or something? And I didn't click on it, but I mean, that is the sort of thing that you have to ask when dealing with Hegel. Like, do I have a year of my life to dedicate to just trying to get through this book? So, but yeah. I mean, it is about your life as a human being. It is not always about your life as a human being. I mean, what you're doing is about your life, and so you have to care. And again, this is what I'm saying, the motivation here. Existential comics. Oh, inside of you there are 2 wolves. One thinks you are posting too many Hegel jokes. One thinks you aren't posting enough Hegel jokes. You are a synthesis of both that makes progress towards the right amount of Hegel jokes. Wow. So I wonder if this is their last Hegel joke. Like the end-all be-all of Hegel jokes. Like when Obama did a Thanks Obama joke and the Thanks Obama subreddit went private and just closed down. It's like Obama made a Thanks Obama. Imagine being sucked into a time vortex and ending up next to some person from ages ago. Once you work out a common language, could you become their friend? Could you share with them your worries, your hopes, your ideas, your faith? Of course you could. But your conversation would have to be between human and human, not between post-industrial educated technocrat and caveman. You could be friends based on only your shared humanity. Indeed, it might be the best friendship you ever had, because there wouldn't be all that trivial crap standing in the way of genuine conversation. I mean, this is like ridiculous. I have no idea if you could be friends with someone from 2,000 years ago and wouldn't hate their guts or just wouldn't just immediately start fighting. This is a very nice idea, but like I have no idea if this is anything to do with anything. This reminds me of the start of Fight Club, where the narrator meets Tyler, and they're on airplanes, and the guy flies a lot for his job, and so he's like, you know, you get like these like short friendships. I forget what he had a term for it, but he's like, oh, I have these like bite-sized friendships. Like you're just sitting next to someone on a airplane, and so you have a bite-sized friendship, and so you can be honest for that little bit because you're never going to see them again, because you're probably never going to be, you know, sitting next to them on a plane ever again. Single serving friends. Thank you, Vipers. So like that's basically what they're saying here. Like you could have, because there's no strings attached, you might actually have like some sort of like super deep thing. But again, that was a movie, and anyone who's seen the movie, you know, you might not believe anything that got said in that movie. And so again, like this is wishful thinking, but is that really how things are going to go? I have no damn clue. Okay. Many of the self-help books referenced earlier focus on the importance of finding out who you really are, as opposed to all the ways others have defined you. One might do this by gazing inward or trying out a new lifestyle. Like a talking fleshlight. Thank you, Cinesemiotics, for that wonderful image I now have in my head. Philosophy urges a different approach. We can find out who we are by engaging others in conversation about who we might be. Plato, Aristotle, Avicenna all have ideas about this. So do Gertrude Anscombe, Karl Marx, and Friedrich Nietzsche. And so do Nagarjuna, Lao Tzu, and Quasi-Oredu. I don't know this name. Quasi-Oredu. In the end, if we are to be anybody, we will be adopting some sort of definition coming from somewhere. Philosophy offers the opportunity of exploring multiple definitions and trying to find yourself among them. This is the shared activity of all philosophical reading. Yeah, you can try different philosophies on for style and for size. Like, just like Cinesemiotics, just like Vipers got himself a Teletubby suit, because that's exactly who Vipers really is deep down, Teletubby. You can also try these sorry, Cinesemiacs, I apologize. uh, Dead or alive, you're coming with me. I watch RoboCop a lot, actually. I have it, like, I just have the file of it, and I just play it a lot. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Yeah. I apologize, Vipers. But yeah, you can try different philosophies on for size. And you see kids doing this, like, teenagers. They think, oh, I'm going to, go be a libertarian or an objectivist or, a Marxist or whatever. They can try different stuff out and see how they like it. And then sometimes they stick with it, and sometimes it's not a phase, and sometimes it is. So you get a lot of that nowadays because people are, I think, struggling nowadays with a lot of stuff. And so people try to are looking for meaning, and this is how you get bad stuff mostly, because people get zealous and they get all swept up in like movements, and then we get very messy outcomes. Okay, make use of secondary sources. Now, again, actually, what should be said about this? These people have different ideas. You could try some of them out, and it's not a bad idea. But again, this is what I was saying earlier. It's not so much about, arguing with the philosophers. It's about making some of this stuff real to yourself. I'll try, Cinesemiotics. You have to make some of this stuff real to yourself. If you want to try to go understand something Marx said, what does it actually mean to view the world in a Marxian light? Like, instead of having, people trying in capitalism, we hide our squatter camps. I know that when Hugo Chavez came in control of where, God, I'm blanking, Chile or whatever, then this is the thing. People experiment in college, but like, people view the world differently. And so when he came into power, he, instead of labeling like a public park, he labeled it as a squatter encampment, because basically the public park had become a squatter encampment, but that's where they're all living. So instead of labeling it a public park, which it really wasn't anymore, he just labeled it a, squatter encampment. And so he was viewing it through the lens of what the people that were living there were doing, as opposed to the capitalist or like the more whatever the original planners had called it, which was not what it was at that time anymore. And so it's like, you can try to, but the point is that you have to see the world, you have to label things differently in your world if you're going to try it. And so if you're going to like try out the libertarian like a mentality, you're going to see things in the different world, a way that the libertarians see it. If you want to look at things through like whatever other lens that you might be doing, you can try this out. But that's the point, is you have to start looking at the world that way. And that's what these philosophers are offering you a lot of times, is you get to see things like through their eyes. Do I think there's a strong link between philosophy and self-help? Yeah, quite often. I do take the Nietzsche, not the Nietzschean, well, it is Nietzschean too. Nietzsche was all about like, becoming the overman, like the drive to become, drive to power, become something bigger. So that's like a self-helpy version right there. The Wittgensteinian also, that like philosophy is like therapy. So I think there are a lot of links. Not, of course, a lot of philosophy has nothing to do with that, but there's definitely some overlap between philosophy and self-help. Understanding your world, a lot of times, that might not be explicitly self-help, but again, like if you want to understand what's going on in certain parts of the world, then you can read philosophy and why people are arguing the way they're arguing about certain things. You're not gonna be able to understand some of the stuff. Yeah, so you might consider like self-help applied philosophy, as Cinesemiotics says. That would make sense. And I was saying before, there are philosophers who do practice like therapy and use like philosophy as a kind of therapy, and so that would be explicitly a self-helpy thing. And that's cool, like that you can try to do that and that people are helped in this way. I don't know if they're still doing it, but in New York City here, there were advertisements on the subway saying, philosophy to make your life better. And apparently it was some sort of Hindu philosophy program. And so they were teaching you one kind of philosophy. It was just this one Hindu philosophy. But I read the reviews online. I don't know if they were truthful reviews, but people were just saying basically, yeah, like they do what they're saying. Now, if you like that philosophy, good. If you don't, it's not for you. But like, if that philosophy works for you, it will make you a bit happier. They're not licensed. Yeah, but again, who is licensing what and why? Does it necessarily mean that they're not doing good work, even if they don't have an official accreditation? Viper says, travel the world and you'll see that in America and only in America, the largest and most prominent section is self-help. Many think that this is due to capitalism and the commodification of oneself. So do you think that applies to philosophy too? What, capitalism applies to it? Of course, yes. Do I think that philosophy has been co-opted by capitalism in some sense in America? Absolutely. That it's self-helpy and yeah, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work, Cinesemiotics. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that the medical profession doesn't have the last say on what makes a good life. And so, like, there are other questions that the medical profession doesn't do. So it's like, if you're looking for a sort of therapist, well, if you're looking to have like a better life, maybe philosophy does talk about those. Now, is that medically covered? No, of course not. But yeah, it's like maybe that's not a problem in that case either. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that Americans are obsessed with self-help, is that capitalist commodification? Probably. And that's probably not helping us because it makes us feel like we need to change more than we might need to, or there's always more to be doing, which is a stress we probably don't need. And so, yeah, capitalism is driving us all crazy here, at least to some extent. But like, yeah. I mean, the question is, how bad is it at this point? I don't know. Okay. Make use of secondary sources. The fact of the matter is that we live in an excellent time to be introduced to philosophy. Success, oh my god. I mean, whatever works, I guess. We live in an excellent time to be introduced to philosophy. That's fair. YouTube abounds in explanations of philosophers and their ideas, and though every video should be met with some measure of skepticism, many serve the broad purpose of getting us into the proverbial ballpark. Philosophy Tube, for example, offers witty and provocative explorations of philosophical questions. Viper says, there's a scene from a movie called My Beautiful Laundrette where Daniel Day-Lewis plays an English male prostitute that I never forgot. Smoking's bad for you, you know. So is being fucked up in the arse, but I don't care. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, people pick their poison also. So some people might like the self-helpy stuff. Relating the medical profession not to finding a good life. Yeah. You know, the medical profession, if you go back to like the Hippocratic Oath, it's first do no harm. They're not telling you how to live the good life. They're basically trying to keep you from having a bad life due to medical problems. And so it's exactly like what's going on. Like a lot of their Western medicine, at least, is reactionary. And so you got to consider, like, as a reactionary program, it reacts to a physical problem or some other problem, but it's reacting to a problem. You've already gone wrong in Western medicine, and they're trying to correct that. And so that sort of program is, you know, maybe there are other things. I know Chinese medicine has a slightly different view than that. They're more proactive. And so their version of health is not the same as our version of health, because our version of health is like free from disease, and they don't have that concept. They have a different concept. Like, if you have disease, yes, that's bad, but like, why did you get the disease in the first place? They care about that. And so the Western medicine is like, well, can I cure your disease? And that's all they're asking, not why you got it. But yeah, so it's like, this is like, there's subtle questions about that, like reactive versus non-reactive theories of medicine. And then again, psychology for that matter. Do you proactively like try to self-help your psychology? And should that be treated more as a medical thing as opposed to like therapy, where you're like trying to correct some behavior you might not like or something like that? But yeah. Oh, by the way, I found my parents' old copy of the DSM-5, which is the big book of all the psych problems you can have. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Okay? And this is the old version. There's a bigger version now. A newer version. And it's got even more disorders you can have. So, yeah. Okay, so we got Philosophy Tube, for example, offers witty and provocative explorations of philosophical questions. Many podcasts are also useful orientations that partially examine life. Very Bad Wizards. Very Bad Wizards is what our friend Aristotle recommends a lot. Philosophy Bites, co-run by the Aeon Psyche editor Nigel Warburton, and Peter Adamson's Brave and Brilliant History of Philosophy Without Any Gaps. Again, that's also a good one. These are all good. And many others all provide casual entries into philosophy. Let us not be book snobs. Plato himself thought that real philosophy takes place only in live conversation, and a written text is at best only an imitation of the real thing. And yes, he wrote down that in a text. There is also a wide world of secondary sources at your disposal to help tease out the intricacies of great philosophical texts. Don't hesitate to use them. All right, so again, this is weird, because think about this. This paragraph here talking about like podcasts and YouTube. Old version from 2013, fuck world. Yeah. Again, this is like how to read philosophy is. This is how to read philosophy is you go listen to someone like me. That's why I got asked this. Someone who talks about philosophy. All these people here, they talk about philosophy. See how they read philosophy. This is more of an answer to the question than everything that else that got said. Is you go see how someone else does it. What do I think of Alain de Botton and his YouTube channel, The School of Life? If you've seen it. I have not seen a School of Life video in maybe 6 years, I think, or at least 5. I remember seeing it pop up on my feed years ago. I don't remember anything other than the intro, like the part of the introduction. So I can't speak on that. I don't think I watched more than a few minutes of it. It wasn't interesting to me at the time, but I can't really comment otherwise. Yeah, so like this is a good thing. This is not a secondary source. This is seeing how other people go about talking about philosophy. This is a much better answer about what to do about philosophy than almost everything they've said before. And again, this is what our friend Aristotle says, is you go read the Very Bad Wizards book and you listen to their podcast. That is good advice. That's what our friend Aristotle says. And so like this is good advice here. But again, this is more than halfway through this essay, is you finally got to good advice on how to go read philosophy, is you go see how other people read philosophy. Decent production values, less accurate than folks like us might prefer. Yeah, I guess the School of Life videos. You know, I wouldn't even be fussed about the accuracy. I mean, I guess I would be a little fussed, but again, if you're doing pop stuff, you get a measure of leeway. I mean, and this person gets leeway too. Like, this is a public bit of philosophy here. Like, I can analyze this to no end if, like, you want to go into all the details. I'm taking issue with, you know, if I was to say what is actually a good idea, you move this paragraph way up. If you want to know how to read philosophy, you go watch other people do it. Like, if you want to see how I do it, you can watch how I do it. And then you might understand, like, this is what I think about when I'm reading philosophy. What is a thing that I can say is like the philosopher talking about, and then I can describe it to myself. That's how I go about it a lot of times, and that's what a lot of these people would also be doing. Here, watch this. Yeah. Go look at this YouTube video, you 4-year-old. Good strategy. Okay. Yeah, and then once you get past when you get to an idea that you don't understand, then you can go to a secondary source on someone else who can explain what a philosopher, like a big philosopher, was saying better than they said it, or may say it in a more contemporary way. That's what a secondary source will get you, is that if you want to read the philosopher and you kind of aren't getting like you don't think you're getting the right picture, then you can read a secondary source and you'll get their picture of it. But like that is, again, these two paragraphs should not be next to each other in this paper. This should be at the top, and then down here, this is at the bottom. Once you realize that you need to get a better picture of a philosopher, then you go check out the secondary sources, and that way you have an idea what's going on. Or I mean, you could even start with the secondary sources, and that way you could have an idea what's going on and then go check the original to see if that's really what they said. Okay. There is also a wide world of secondary sources at your disposal to help tease out the intricacies of great philosophical texts. Don't hesitate to use them. One nice thing about a discipline as old as philosophy is that the textbooks don't exactly go out of date, and sometimes the old introductory textbook from 1970 can provide a nice overview of a tangled set of questions. As you read more and more, you might discover the shortcomings of older secondary materials, but you should count that as a win. You are developing your own philosophical perspective. Yeah, this is fine, but you already have to be in this to care about what somebody from 50 years ago now was saying about something. So this seems like a little out of place. But like, it's a fine way to go about it, but you again already have to be interested in an area to go find a 50-year-old text on it. Finally, one should also never underestimate the value of friends as secondary sources or even primary sources. If you form a reading group and talk about the great books that you come across, you will learn how to interpret, object, argue, and change your mind, all essential tools of any philosopher as well as any human being. Again, that's what's going on up here. If you look at the people talking about it now, you can see how they do it. You can talk to them. You can leave comments and ask them. Again, this is live here. Anyone in chat who doesn't know me, I'm Noger. I live comment philosophy texts, and we're talking about how to read philosophy at the moment. But like, you can ask me now, like, am I going about this? What am I thinking about when I'm talking about this stuff? Like, you can ask. But like, this is the thing. You shouldn't be doing the secondary sources. Like, you can ask people, this is how to read philosophy. But like, if you go into the secondary texts, I mean, yeah, you're going to get another perspective, but that's going to be a philosophical text in itself, and you may have just the same problems that you had with the original that you might have with the secondary texts. Just have to be careful. Okay. Oh, so we've got some key points. How to read philosophy. 1. Reconsider your expectations of philosophy. There's a certain mindset that helps when approaching philosophy. Prepare to confront questions with answers and problems without solutions. Questions without answers and problems without solutions. 2. Philosophy requires active adversarial reading. To get the most out of reading philosophy, keep a pencil in hand, mark up your book, and challenge the author every chance you get. 3. Philosophy is dialogue. The back and forth, cut and thrust of ideas is what makes it exciting. When you read, pay attention to the dialogue that makes philosophy, and be sure to take part as well. Let me go back to 2 for a second. Mark up the book. This might work for you. I know people that do that. My books are perfectly clean. I almost never mark them up. Like, my books are like basically like used bookstore style books. Like, you could flip through it, you might see one little comment somewhere. That's it. Like, I don't mark up my books. Why would I do that? Like, I want to keep it looking nice. But like, yeah. So like, all this stuff is like, it applies to some people. Like, if you like marking it up, go right ahead. But like, the point of all this stuff, you should go in with an open mind. You have to reconsider your expectations, and don't worry about like any pretense. Mark up the books, argue with the people, but like, you have to figure out what they're talking about. You have to get involved. And that's what this is. Philosophy is dialogue. Get yourself involved with it in some way. Like, make it real to you. Come up with your own examples if you can that work with what the author is saying. Philosophy is about you? No, it's not. Sometimes it is. Why you're doing it is about you, and it's not worth it if there is nothing that you don't care about in your book. But this is what the author says. Philosophy is about you. Philosophical conversation with a book or a friend will always tell you more about yourself, who you are, and what you think about the world. Philosophy is, in many ways, a process of self-discovery. That's nice, but that's not always the case, but it can be. Soy Boy, what's up? Hi. Welcome in. Noger, I read and comment philosophy in Philosophy Roulette stream. That's what we're doing. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you're having a fantastic day. And 5, make use of secondary sources. This is a great time to begin philosophizing because there's a wealth of sources out there that make the greats accessible. Yeah, and this is fine. Especially the more contemporary stuff. If you want to learn how to get into it, then this is a way to do it. You have one question. Well, there you go. You're free to ask away. I reserve the right not to answer if I don't like it. But you're free to ask, as long as it's, I guess, TOS. Well, spit it out. Yeah, I mean... Oh. Who's your wife? I mean, do I know this person? Wouldn't be the first time I've been offered, actually. No, actually, no, that's not true. Married woman offered, but not the husband or the partner. I don't know if they're husband or whatever. So I was like, aren't you married? And then they got embarrassed. They didn't realize I knew they were married. You should have said again. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I asked who's your wife. I mean, it's like, maybe it's again. I don't. Oh, you got to be more specific than that, soy boy. I mean, that's nice. You want me to sleep with your wife, but like, that's not very specific. I mean, like maybe. Okay. Why it matters. I am sorry to be the one to break it to you, but you are mortal. Oh my god, shocking. Before your end, though, you should eat right, exercise regularly, make friends, and be helpful to strangers. Why would I want to do any of those things? You might also take some time to wonder what it means to exist, what reality really is, whether there's a God, and whether you have any purpose in living a human life. Answers are not guaranteed, but trying to find them may help you feel as if you haven't missed out on your one chance to understand what it's all about. This is going too well? Okay. I mean, you gotta get better questions, actually. Like, if you want, like, the answer's like, maybe, okay. Yeah, got more questions, let's go. Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay. Reading philosophy is the best way to grapple with these big questions. I don't know if it's the best way. It is a way to grapple with these big questions. Actually, I think of philosophy a lot of times as a last resort. If you can go grapple with a big question, like using like computers, and you can just go like write a program. Oh, well, I mean, being bald's cool. It's nice to have hair, but it's not like the end all be all of things. But like philosophy is, I think of a lot of times, the last resort. When you have exhausted all the other like more useful and like easier options, then you go looking what philosophers have said on the area, on the topic, because that's like, then you've got yourself a real problem that you don't know how to solve and you need help, and it turns out no one knows how to solve it, and then like that's the sort of thing. What if you can just think about things? Do you have to read philosophy then? No, of course, just think about it. The question is, do you want to know more? It's like, hey, do you want to know more? Click here. As if you're in Starship Troopers. Well, of course you can just think about things and just go right ahead. I do not have a girlfriend at the moment, soy boy. And if you want to think about things, you should also check out Shane McGinnis. Because Shane has an excellent channel. And he talks about many things on his channel. Don't be sorry, it's cool. But like, if you want to go talk about like super interesting things about sociology or history of the entire world, then you can go hang out at Shane's. Of course he is. But yeah. Yeah, go hang out at Shane's. And everyone can go drop him a follow if you didn't. Shane, like I said, yeah, history of the world. We just talked about the expansion of Islam. Yeah, so if you want to know how Islam, like, kind of from its like humble beginnings got to be a world power, he just went through like the history and a lot of the political intrigue, and you know, and he makes it cool. Like, it was a good story. It's like a good story you can talk about. Like, the people are interesting, the things that happened are interesting. So, you know, it makes history a bit more accessible. And so, yeah, you don't have to think about stuff. I mean, you don't think at all. Whatever, that's fine. But if you're interested in stuff and you want to talk about it, then sometimes you have to go looking for the right conversation. I mean, sorry, but you're so helpful. Offer your wife to Shane too? So, philosophy is the best way to grapple with these questions. No, it is a way to grapple with the big questions. It is not necessarily the best. Again, no answers are guaranteed, or rather too many answers are guaranteed, but the conversations with great philosophers will help you discover what the big questions mean to you. All you need is time, some curiosity, and a library card. Plato said that philosophy begins in wonder. Wonder about what? It could be about your own consciousness, about whether any part of you will survive the death of your body, about the nature of love or beauty, or whether humans are always bound to mistreat one another, or whether our natures can be improved, about scientific knowledge, or whether everything can be understood. Human experience gives us plenty of occasion to wonder. But in everyday life, this sort of wonder is often discouraged because it is seen as impractical. There are no answers to these questions, we may think, empty speculation, each to their own. So should we not wonder? Should we pretend that these questions don't matter merely because their value is extraordinary? Or should we seize the opportunity at some point on the path from cradle to grave to wonder over the most profound questions we ask? You know, this is fair. Sometimes you do have to be practical. Sometimes you do have to go make money. You have to put food on the table. That's fine. And like, if you are wasting your time, if you are starving yourself to ask these questions, I suggest you go get yourself like into a more stable economic position. But that's not that hard to get by, at least in the United States, to get enough food on the table and like a house over your head, and then also have enough time to read a book. Like, if you can get past that, like, then you might be thinking you're okay. And so, like, that's the thing. Even though they might be seeming as impractical, you also, that's okay. Like, seizing the opportunity. But like I said, you need a reason to do it. And the practicality is a question thing. This is why I'm a little worried here. It's just like, it's seen as impractical. No, it's not impractical. If you really want to do something, then go do it. That's why you do a lot of this other stuff, is so that you have time to go pursue the questions you want to pursue. Okay. Oh, so this is the end. This is the links and books. So we'll get to this last little thing, which is I think that's it actually. But yeah, let's go look at what the links and books they have to say here. People are interested in reading philosophy for different reasons. Some like quick and juicy puzzles like the infamous trolley problem or questions about transporters. David Chalmers' recent book, Reality Plus, offers a splendid array of puzzles of this flavor while raising provocative questions and insights about the reality of virtual reality. Other folks might like to fill in some gaps in their knowledge and the grand history of ideas. Will Durant's classic The Story of Philosophy in 1926 offers an overview of several canonical philosophers. It's the book I most frequently recommend to someone who is starting out reading philosophy and wants a roadmap. That's interesting that a 1926 book is what this person says. It's good. Brian McGee offers a flashy update of Durant in his book, The Story of Philosophy, a concise introduction to the world's greatest thinkers and their ideas. One can easily advance from Durant or McGee's overview to collections of classic works themselves, such as provided in Stephen M. Kahn's Anthology of Classics of Western Philosophy. If one is interested in what on earth contemporary philosophers are up to, Richard Marshall provides scores of straight-speaking interviews on his site, 316. Yeah, that's true. The 316 interviews are quite often good. Yeah, but thanks for offering, Soy Boy. That's very nice of you. What convention are you going to, Shane? Or if you can say, don't dox yourself by saying like exactly what, if it's too specific. On the more general topic of reading, a classic instruction manual for active reading is How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren. It's definitely old school in style and flavor, but it is a nostalgic delight to read such clear and wholesome writing, and the advice is undeniably useful for reading philosophy books. You know, I could use some old school writing. That actually might be interesting. Like old advice books are interesting. Oh, you're going to Dragon Con. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. Get some like cool stuff, like and meet some like cool people. Some nuts and bolts advice about reading philosophy can be found on a student blog from the University of Edinburgh. For anyone who would rather catch a video, similarly good advice is offered in the YouTube video How to Read Philosophy in 6 Steps by Christopher Annandale. Last but far not least, Justin E.H. Smith's book, The Philosopher: A History in 6 Types, will broaden your definition of what counts as philosophy and what we may be interested in when we read philosophy. It is a useful corrective to anyone who wants to gatekeep the pursuit of wisdom. Yeah, this person is a very, very old school style of philosopher. The advice given was old school. I completely agree with Valpo. This is not like hipster this is not a hipster philosopher giving you advice, whoever this is. This is sort of like a little bit stodgy in my opinion, but like none of it's bad. It's just this is very Americans love the Worcestershire sauce in Edinburgh. You think the J.E.H. book is good? You think? Okay, I don't know, but I think I've read J.E.H. Smith's stuff on philosophy roulette, so I know something about him. I've heard of this book. Apparently, it's okay. You'll be on the token panel. That's awesome, Shane. That is so awesome. Yeah. Did you go? Yeah. I guess you have to be nice and not yell at people, being like, "You don't really understand what you're talking about." Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, Elijah Milgram is an epistemologist. I read his book. I kind of had some conclusions that were similar to him once. So interesting character. Yeah, actually, the Wittgenstein's wager paper that gets always posted in chat. I had a longer version. I went on a rant about something, and it tied into what Elijah Milgram used to say. You should read some Irish philosophers like Mr. Osophy, Phil Osophy. Yes. Okay, so what do I think about this? This is basically what I feel like. This is boomer advice, to put it shortly. This is who's reading this magazine here? This is not from kids. Oh, look at this. That is cool. This is Nietzsche's Edvard Munch. I did not know Edvard Munch did a Nietzsche. That's very nice. That's super cool. But yeah. So this is not a bad rundown. Depends who you are, of course. Let's see if I'm just gonna go look up at this picture. If this guy's like a wow, he's not even gonna be old. Oh no, he is old. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. This is who we're talking about. This is a Whitebeard. Now this guy looks cool. I want to say right here, like this guy looks badass. He looks cool. Like he looks awesome. But again, this is the generation. This is a generation up 1 or 2 for me. This is a boomer. There are spiritual boomers as well as literal ones. How do you do? How do you do, fellow kids? No, I mean how do you do? Have you ever really thought about it? Fascinating question. Yes, exactly. So like this guy is probably I'm sure he's an awesome dude, but like it's just this is the sort of advice. It's an old school sort of perspective on things. So how do you do? And this is good. So again, who's reading this article? This might be for the cool boomers out there, or maybe even Gen X's, who are older than me. Yeah. So like, say this is like for Gen X or boomers that are like who are interested in getting into stuff. This would be like I feel like they would really like this. I have problems with it, but like this is written in a way that I feel is accessible to that sort of mindset. You've got a lot of sort of like things to encourage them. The me generation. We should go back to calling the boomers the me generation too. They need to have a lot of encouragement. You have to remember they're the me generation. They're always thinking about themselves, and so they need to get built up a lot. To get like to feel like that they have like psychological support to get into something, because otherwise they get nervous and scared of anything new, and that's kind of what it is. And so you need to build them up, and that's what happened in the beginning part. And I feel like I could just go rant about the boomers for a while. Then you need to give them you build them up, then you give them a little bit of flavor here with Bertrand Russell to like give them confidence. Like this is really like this is good. This is what you should be thinking, and this is what a great philosopher says. And you are also you are right in the way you're thinking. And that's what it is. And then again, then you're gonna have to like you're gonna have to buckle down, think it through. Like you're a competent boomer. You did things good. You're smart. You're just gonna have to tough it out. There. Yes, wrong. Philosophy is not afraid to say that certain things are wrong. See, this is like Who needs to hear this? That philosophy is not afraid that certain things are wrong. This isn't for my generation. Do you really think my generation, like the millennials or the Gen Zers who might be reading this, give a flying fuck? I sure don't, and any of the people I do, maybe some of them do, but I don't think so. This is not directed at me, or at least I don't know who needs to hear this. You don't have to I'm not gonna do it, Valpo, but like it's funny. Yeah, I'm just trying to like come up with a good way to like summarize this. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I was having a little bit of fun poking at the boomers there, but yeah, it's like, and then at the end, it's like, hey, you might, even if you feel unsure, there's plenty of secondary sources you can go look up. It's like, that's not how people think about, at least not how I go out think about it. This is how, philosophy professors go about thinking about things. So like, hey, you can go read this other book if you're interested. It's like, this is how my parents might go think about stuff. So, see, key points, think it through. Yeah, let's see. Oh, let's see. We got comments. I want to see if the comments are. Frankly, Jansen, this is a comment. Frankly, at the age of 96, it has not always seemed to me that philosophy is not a special format of investigating a special, frequent, impenetrable area of thinking, but an attitude of facing the problems each of us must face and solve every day. So whether I should eat a marshmallow raw or first toast it requires some sort of philosophical personal penetration. Okay. Again, who's reading this? The hip 96-year-old. That's cool. Okay. So, hey, this person also felt the need to say their age. This person's 73. Hey, and it's never too late to begin one's philosophical journey. I'm 73, a very late start to philosophy, a start to begin reading 2,500-year-old philosophy. Yep. And Anita Spinks, like you, I came to this late subject, now 74. Who likes this? This is like hilarious. Like, I'm always pleased when I get something right. I was like, this is like boomer directed and boomer enjoyed. Okay, who's this? All right, so this person didn't say their name. Terrific article, also affirming because of the past I have friend years, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the women are up to something, yeah. Viper said, I would quit back after all the Gen X hate, but I'm too busy playing solitaire. Yeah. Well, I don't hate on Gen X. I have a lot of friends in Gen X. I mean, some of them are too boomerish for me, but my friends are like fucking amazing. Like the ones I have that are a few years older than me, they're just amazing. So whatever. This is a good point. This person didn't quote any women philosophers or mention GEM and Scone once. Basically, did not do any of the newer philosophy and the women. So yeah, exactly. Like I like Gen X. I'm mostly making fun of the boomers here. But I mean, the people that responded to this, they were like, 96 is greatest generation in the U.S. I don't know what they're called. Other places. Yeah. So this person has a book club and they read Socrates. Great way to do it. I don't know who these people are. Yeah, okay, so another podcast suggestion. Okay, but yeah, it's just really funny. Like the few people that commented all were boomers and above, and then the other people didn't say it, but like they sort of responded that way. They call the greater than greatest generation. Yeah.